so cute. Like little robot dudes, whatever they are, little crash test dummy dudes. So, okay.
All right,
Continue watching if you dare. All right. So who
if
wants
you haven't
to
seen
start?
this movie,
right,
you need to turn this off.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a movie that as soon as the movie ends, you want to talk about it with people, like strangers sitting next to you. Like that was like some people started talking about it next to me, and I was like leaning over to hear them. But that says so much about the movie, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll just give you a little bit of structure as to what it is here. Okay. So Ken Watanabe plays this badass, super corporate guy, and he hires Leonardo DiCaprio and his team to implant an idea in the mind of Cillian Murphy, who is his competitor, or is the heir to the competitor's empire.
And they make a big deal about how it's so much more difficult to plant an idea than to steal an idea.
Right, because ordinarily Leo and his little buddies are extractors. Leo is known as a master extractor. So while you are sleeping, he can go inside your brain and steal ideas as if they are like documents in a safe or whatever. This time he's hired to place an idea in there, which is known as inception, and it's really hard to do. Leo has to bring all these various people in. Ellen Page is the architect of what is known as the maze. Leo could build a maze, but he doesn't want to do it anymore for reasons that become more obvious as the film comes out. It has to do with his past. And the emotion that is in the film is in Leo's story. And the reason that he is on the run as fugitive dream thief has to do with his wife and his children, and he's been accused of a crime he didn't commit. So.
Right. No, I get that. I just wasn't feeling the immediacy of that. I felt like there wasn't much immediacy to it.
But the love of his life is at stake here, and
it's
his
not
children
like something
are at
you'll
stake.
cry over. I mean,
but his children. Well, I don't know. I mean, I have a kid now, so the idea of him never seeing his kids again.
No, and
emotional.
I get that, and I did feel an emotion there, and I did feel sympathy, but I didn't feel. I don't know. It just, on a certain level, it just left me a little cold. It just felt. You know, for instance, at no point, some movies you go and see and you get really emotionally behind. You know, think of something like E.T., right? E.T. comes back to life and the audience stands up and cheers, right?
People I cry like a little girl every time, and I know he's going to get in that spaceship and go home and be with his family.
Exactly.
I cry like a little girl every time.
Right. You know, in a movie like, you know, you think about the first time you saw a movie like Star Wars, right? When Luke blows up the Death Star, people cheer, right? There's no cheering moments in this. There's nothing to, you know.
It is very serious.
Although at the end, you know, when it cuts to the credits, the sound that went up from the crowd was one of these incredibly, like, it's not a exact analogy, but it reminds me of when I was a kid and I saw The Crying Game, like the first few days after it came out, before any people were talking about it.
Right.
And the sound that went up from the crowd when you see Jay Davidson, all of a sudden was just like, what? It was really incredible. And there was a sound like that at the end, and I've heard someone say, I hope there's a sequel. Like, come on. Like,
he's a hermaphrodite.
Right. No, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I think this is a damn near perfect movie, right?
It's one that you have to try to find fault with.
Right. It's a damn near perfect movie, but it's, you know, it left me a little cold, and that's. You know, the lack of passion towards the characters is the only thing. I mean, again, I gave it a 9. That's one of the highest scores I've ever given it. So I think it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely go see it.
We're actually getting wrapped here soon.
No.
Are we not? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. The actual movie now? Not Jay Davidson anymore? Okay. So here's what's so great. They're layers after layer after layer of a dream, and each layer has different time frame. So like 6 minutes is 10 hours is a year someplace else. Depending on where they were, if they were like in a little ice cave part or, you know, the snowy part, I would have to stop and go, okay, where are they really now? And I realized, okay, they're on an airplane from Sydney to LA on a 10-hour flight, and like they're all asleep together hooked into this machine.
But no, they're in the van falling, you know, they're in the van falling out the
van,
bridge.
that's the dream below it.
They're in the hotel. Oh no, wait, they're actually, I mean, there's, you know, at one point there are 5 different levels going on.
Because then there's like a subconscious purgatory at the end.
And depending on how you look at it, maybe there's actually 6.
Oh, and then speaking of the car chase, like, you know, you see tons of car chases in every movie. This car chase it doesn't do anything necessarily spectacular in terms of stunts or explosions.
No, but it was terrifying because of what was at stake.
Because everyone inside is so vulnerable. They're all unconscious, as the guy who's kind of like the nerdy science guy is the guy driving the van.
Right. And it moves really well. It's all taking place in the rain. It has a sort of like steely gray, Nolan look about it.
And what's awesome about that particular car chase is it's scary as hell. It's probably the scariest car chase I've seen in a movie since Death Proof, really. You know, it's terrifying because you know what's at stake, and yet it's not real. And that's what's amazing.
Then it got you emotionally, didn't it? That's an emotion. You felt fear for the characters.
Yeah, true.
And did you?
I'm not changing my score.
And also, like with
Too late now.
Cillian Murphy's story, like the way that resolves itself, I thought that was pretty emotional too. Like when he finds out the stuff from his dad, and
He cared all along.
Right, but it wasn't. But that wasn't real.
But which was his
all
projection,
his
right?
dream.
Like, but it was so interesting how they get to the idea of like, for it to feel like it's your own idea, there has to be a catharsis, and like a positive feeling is so much better than a negative one. And because I love like when they're starting to plan out the whole thing, we're like, okay, the idea we need to plan is I need to break up my father's company. How are we going to get there? And they have to create this entire huge, elaborate thing.
And one of the things I thought was great about this movie, one of the things that I found fascinating, was that they all have and Leo's character too, and presumably his wife's character, have a background in architecture. They weren't psychologists. They weren't psychiatrists. They were architects.
And Ellen Page too.
And Ellen Page, right? He goes and finds, when he's talking about, oh, we need a new architect, and then you realize he literally needs a new architect. And I thought that was fascinating. It was such an interesting turn on how to deal with the mind. And if you think about what an architect needs to know, it is very close to psychology. You do need to know about how an environment affects people and what they're going to be looking for and how to shepherd them through a journey. I thought that was really intelligent.
One thing too that was kind of cool, all their names kind of mean something. So this is a totally geeky thing. But Ellen Page's character is named Ariadne.
Right.
Who in Greek mythology is the one who led Theseus back through the labyrinth when he goes in to slay the Minotaur. She helps lead him back through with red thread.
Right.
And so she's wearing red the whole time.
Yes.
And her name is Ariadne.
Yes.
Kind of obvious Marion Cotillard's name is Mal.
Right.
Because she's bad.
Means bad in French.
Right. Here's my and Spanish.
Well,
here's my question for you guys. Is one thing I wondered, and wonder what you guys think about this as well. So at the end, they're in the plane. They all wake up, right? They've implanted the idea in Cillian Murphy's head. Leo wakes up and has that kind of Wizard of Oz moment with all the other characters. He looks at Tom Hardy, looks at Ellen Page, looks at Ken Watanabe, and they all look back at him with recognition, like, it happened. We were all there together. Cillian Murphy wakes up like they're all strangers still. Like he has just shared, like, depending on what level they were on, minutes or days or hours or years of his life with these people. Why doesn't he know who they are too?
Well, my take on that particular bit is that they're all giving each other the nod of job well done.
Okay.
Good job, everybody. Whereas he's waking up and he's kind of doing these people on the plane with me and somehow they ended up in my dream.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Here's my other question. That when Dileep Rao makes the little concoction to the sedative to put them all under, does he somehow add like a memory erasing element to make Cillian Murphy remember the idea that's been planted in his head, but not the process by which it took place?
I don't think so.
I don't know. That was one thing.
No,
that
actually,
got to me.
I think in my personal interpretation of the movie is that's all window dressing because the entire thing is in limbo from the get-go.
Yeah,
I think that he's in limbo. I think that, and this is the huge spoiler, I think, when they start talking about limbo and the danger of being caught in somebody else's dream, I think from the first frame of the movie that we see, Leo's in limbo. And what happened in his own limbo.
Okay.
I think he's in his own limbo.
Because of Mal.
Because of Mal or because of something. I think that he's in his own limbo. I think that the stuff with Mal probably has happened, but I think that he's in his own, and there's a few hints of that, right? They make a big deal about the totem, and then he talks about how he's got his wife's totem, and that shouldn't really work right for him.
It should be his own.
It should probably be his own, and so it's telling at the end when the top keeps going, right? I think that he's in limbo all the time, and there's a couple of the two big clues. Actually, the three clues for me that made me think that, and I started suspecting with two of them. I started suspecting with Michael Caine's character from one of the very first things he says to Leo is "come back to reality," which I thought was a bit of a weird thing to say. And then when they're in that room with all the sleepers that I've been calling the opium den, right? When he's in that room and the old man is saying, they're here to wake up, you of all people should know. And I thought that was such a weird thing for him to say.
That's really smart.
Right?
It's
And
really
so
perceptive
then
of you.
my perception is he's in limbo all along, and Ellen Page's character, Ariadne, has been sent in there to get him out.
To lead him out of the maze.
And she doesn't. And she's unsuccessful.
See, what's interesting is I actually kind of thought, I sort of thought in some ways the opposite. I thought that I was wondering whether in the end, if Michael Caine was the mastermind, that he was the one who thought that the company should be broken up and everything, and the way that and also to some degree maybe want to get some revenge on Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought that maybe Michael Caine basically planted an idea in what's her face, in Ariadne's brain. The idea that okay, there's something wrong with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
But you don't really know what it is, but because she has to come to the idea organically, and what she comes to at the end is maybe he has to stay here. Maybe this is all right. Because when the van is sinking, and she and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are there, and he's like, we have to get him. And she's like, no, like he'll be okay or something. She says something to that effect, where it's like, no, it's going to be all right.
Well, he has to go back down into the purgatory level to get Ken Watanabe, though, right?
Kind of.
Doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah,
within the limbo reality he's created, that I think, he needs to go back and get Watanabe. And it takes him 20-something years in that layer to get him.
And I think that's also because also like when Leo's on the plane, I mean when they wake up at the end, and then when he's walking through the airport, because they talk about when you're in your dream and people are making eye contact, it's because those people are wondering whether this is like they're recognizing that it's a dream.
The projection.
And so I feel like Leo is walking through and he's kind of looking at they're all looking at him and he's looking at them, and it's either did we think that just happened? Did that really happen, or is this a dream or not? But they kind of in his own projection are confirming, no, it's real. It's real. Like this is what, but it's him projecting what he wants to happen. Because when he goes to the passport, the passport guy, and like they're kind of looking at each other about whether he's going to get through or not. But Leo really wants to get through, so he projects that out, and then that's actually what happens.
So you like Matt's theory that it's all still a dream. That even when they get off the plane and he goes through customs and he goes home to his kids, you think that's still a dream?
Oh,
yes.
See, I think at the very least,
Okay.
even if everything up to the plane ride is not a dream, he never wakes up out of the plane.
I agree.
At the very least, he never gets out of the plane.
I think it ends with it ends
but
basically
my
with him
theory
in a
is
coma.
that everything up until then is also he's already in limbo.
Yeah, cool.
Wow, that had not occurred to me. I'm like, okay, there's a top spinning on the table.
Well,
Bye.
Boy, that's a weird top.
Well, when it stops spinning.
But I mean, there's that one. I mean, when Marion Cotillard is trying to, it's like maybe your whole world is a dream because this idea you're running around all over the world and like going into people, like maybe that's the dream. But then he sort of rejects. He basically kind of rejects that.
They do have unlimited money.
Yeah. Well, you get the sense
Well,
that
Ken Watanabe's really wealthy though, and he
you get the sense they get
But,
paid very well for what they do.
One of the
obviously.
things that somebody pointed out was, his team is ubiquitous. Watanabe's people just drop in whenever they need to, and there's that defense mechanism that you start thinking maybe that's part of what's happening in the limbo for him. Maybe he's just all manufacturing that. Now granted, you watch a Bourne movie and enemy agents are coming out of the woodwork, right? Like there's some big, crazy conspiracy. So that might just be the artifice of filmmaking, that Watanabe's people are everywhere when they need to be. Right, but he's a guy who shows up at such the right time.
Well,
with the car, he's like, get in.
Yeah, well, I think he's kind of a rich mastermind sort of guy who can kind of make that stuff happen. But yeah, I was wondering whether it was something where the whole thing is all supposed to be a dream. But I was wondering, does it tip that off that much? Like, because usually there's at least something you can kind of.
And I got to tell you, this is the thing that I thought in the movie is, I had that moment when, my first clue was when, and partly because I'm, hyper aware watching it, having read so many reviews, because I don't have a choice, sadly. When Michael Caine says, "Come back to reality," and then when the old man says, "You should know about wanting to wake up," or something like that, I thought, if this is Chris Nolan, and based on what he did with The Prestige, and based on what he did with Memento, what he's doing is he's doing the unreliable narrator.
So there is no reality, is your argument?
Yeah, the whole thing's a dream.
I'm saying it's reality in the beginning, but then he never gets out of it. Essentially, although there's that question of like, do you know if you're dreaming or not? If Marion Cotillard was there, he would know that he was dreaming. But because she dies and then he goes into this world where it's just him and his kids and he's back home and everything's great, then he would have no way of knowing if he was dreaming or not, because that's this great life and this idea that in the end maybe it was, in my mind, that maybe Michael Caine was the one who made the unsolvable maze. And that is so seamless and so perfect, because in the end he's the one who taught Leonardo DiCaprio.
True.
And so he might have masterminded the whole thing, and that maybe he decided, okay, this it's going to be bad for the world if this country gets the monopoly on energy or whatever. We need to break that up, but to do that, maybe someone has to stay behind. Maybe not everyone's going to make it out, and maybe it'll be Leonardo DiCaprio, maybe because he killed my daughter. Or it could just be that maybe they accepted, or maybe they just accepted, well, he's so screwed up that he's just going to be
expendable.
He's going to be happier in this world. Because also, I mean, there's so much of Ellen Page saying you're a risk to everybody. Like, you have to tell everyone what a risk you are. You're putting everyone in danger. That he couldn't keep on going on doing this because he was getting closer and closer to this edge where Mal is jeopardizing every single thing that happens. Where she all of a sudden kind of drops down from the rafters and shoots Cillian Murphy.
Right. And it is, of course, the tried and true one last job.
Right.
Yes. They state from the very beginning, the tried and true one last heist.
Oh, and one thing I have to say, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt fight scene probably goes down as one of the greatest.
That was one of the things
so
that we didn't
gorgeous.
mention
Ever
that
seen.
should be mentioned.
No
is the
shaky
scene.
camera.
The shaky cam used in the chase scene, I didn't have any problem with.
Right.
It worked. It was very effective. But yes, taking the idea from the Fred Astaire movie, what is it, where he dances around the room.
Where the room rotates.
I can't remember the name of the movie, and I should know that.
I should too.
But
The room rotates. That's how they do it.
Right, and they do the room rotating, and it's a fight scene as the whole hallway rotates, and it's just gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
It's amazing.
Go ahead.
I was saying you don't see the hall rotate, but you just see them just falling at weird angles.
Right.
And then being flung against one wall, then sliding across the floor in the opposite direction.
And then going up on the ceiling, and yeah, I thought that was really, really cool.
Practical effects.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also the moment where he floats into the hotel room and they're all kind of like suspended back in whatever seats they were in when they fell asleep.
Right.
And again, I've seen it a million times. It's gorgeous. Anyway, we should probably go soon. Is there anything else you want to say before we bail?
Oh, geez. I mean, this is what I want. I'm glad we talked about it because,
Me too.
Yeah. I'm glad we had this moment. But just the different interpretations of it. And it's like, I think at this point with the movie only, just coming out, it's hard to say who's right or wrong. Like, I think you could, although I would say, as opposed to saying a movie like people are comparing it to like Kubrick and stuff like that, like 2001, you could probably have 100 different people watch it 100 times and no one would necessarily agree on how it ends. I feel like this one, you might get it after 3 or 4 times.
You definitely have to watch it more than once. Like, there's no way you could ever possibly understand it, even on 1 or 2 viewings. Like, we gotta see it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else you want to add?
No.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you enjoyed our little extra time here. Matt, Jonathan, thanks again. And we might have a show next week, and if we do, it'll be Salt. Angelina Jolie is Salt. So we'll let you know. Thanks. Till then, take care. Enjoy. Bye-bye.